July 13th, 2013, Pokémon releases the third and final Universe movie, Genesect and the Legend Awakened. To the normies, it was just another day. To the Pokémon fans, it was the birth of something far more. The end of good Pokémon movies. We start off introducing Mewtwo right away, which seems pretty odd for a movie about Genesect until you realize Genesect are also man-made Pokemon. Essentially, they're these ancient Pokemon that man decided to revive and strap giant cannons to their backs, which makes perfect sense because we're in the Unova region that's based off America. As Mewtwo's flying around, we get to see the Genesect clan with the cool shiny Genesect leader, who turns out to be a psychopath, but you know, he's cool because he's shiny. We soon realize that one of the Genesect in particular really wants to go home for some reason. Mewtwo gets alerted by this cry, goes over to help out the Genesects, but shiny Genesect ain't having it, so Mewtwo gets blasted as they fly off. Now Mewtwo's got beef with the Genesect for the rest of the movie. Flash forward to our main characters who are traveling through New York, which is actually pretty dope, and that's the one thing I'll give this movie credit for, is its amazing visuals, which look absolutely gorgeous, and the soundtrack that plays in the montage of our MCs arriving.
It's the next chapter, the ultimate goal. Ready for battle, brave and bold.
Mwah. It's just beautiful. Yeah, but that's kind of where the pros of this movie end. As Ash is exploring the city's park, him and Pikachu run into the homesick Genesect. Weird looking guy, I'll tell you, but he's chill. He likes to simp over these flowers that he had back in his old day, and when Ash realizes Genesect is in dire need of going home, he makes this his top priority to return him back to wherever it is he calls home. Uh-oh. Sorry, pathetic trainer. We need to exercise our Genesect supremacy over you humans. Prepare to get obliterated. Good thing Pikachu's Thunderbolt is powerful enough to stop a literal demigod's laser beam. However, that doesn't last long, and now Shiny Genesect commands Beta Genesect to start blasting at them too. Anyways, did I mention Mewtwo randomly Mega Evolves? Well, Mewtwo randomly Mega Evolves into Mega Mewtwo Y and comes in at the speed of light to yoink our characters just in time into the sewers where it's safe. And even though Mewtwo being able to randomly Mega Evolve itself doesn't make any sense, it is cool to see another Mewtwo in the series again, even though it might not be the original one, but this Mewtwo low-key has aura. Mewtwo explains to them the lore of the Genesect, and how they were also human-created. Meanwhile, the Genesect have resorted to creating their new home right in the middle of New York's biggest park, which somehow goes unnoticed by pretty much everyone in the area but the Pokemon living there. The Genesect absolutely cook all the wild Pokemon, which gets the attention of Ash and the gang as they run to see what all the commotion is. They manage to stumble into the Genesect nest, and Beta Genesect kindly greets them, where he explains the importance of the flowers again. However, we learn that the nest kinda is ruining the entire underground power plant system. And if they don't end up fixing this soon, the entire city of New York blows up. Shout out to the great engineers who designed this, by the way. So the no-name blonde-hair guy goes to fix it, while the wild Pokemon from earlier are here to retake their stolen land back. Now we got a war between the wild Pokemon and the Genesect. Mewtwo suddenly returns, fights off Big Daddy Genesect, while the remaining Genesect are commanded to destroy everyone in their path. Again, the visuals of Mewtwo and Shiny Genesect flying around Manhattan is very beautifully done here. I think it's safe to say the animators absolutely cooked with this movie. We even get a mini NASCAR race, Mega Mewtwo Y versus Australian artist turned war leader Genesect. As the Genesect back home are battling Beta Genesect and the wild mons from earlier, amidst the chaos, Shiny Genesect returns to help destroy them, but where the heck did Mewtwo go? Ash and the gang just kind of sit around watching all this unfold until Ash runs out to protect the wild Pokemon from getting blasted, and as he was about to die for the 7th time, Beta Genesect hops in and becomes Sigmasect, enduring all the damage, and then shortly afterward dies. Well, not really, because Pokemon stopped killing Pokemon off after the Lucario movie. But hey, the other Genesect could care less, and they're about to unleash a fatal multi-laser combo, but not before Mega Mewtwo returns for the 2nd time, coming in as their Y form to block all the attacks. Like, this constant switching of Mega Evolutions is so useless and nonsensical, but I guess the writers were forced to show off Mega Mewtwo Y before the Call series, so we had to see this here, I guess. It's really dumb. Kinda like the next 20 minutes of the sequence, as we really just see Shiny Genesect Genesect versus Mewtwo rematch, the power is really getting things heated, Sigmasect loses his flowers, and the other Genesect realize they messed up. Mewtwo keeps despawning so that the shiny Genesect can blast everyone just for her to return for the third time to save them all again, except this time she's finally had enough and just yoinks Genesect straight into the sky. Genesect is looking like when somebody grabs their cap with a scruff, completely paralyzed just sitting there. Mewtwo manages to fly all the way up to outer space, something she wasn't able to do at the beginning of the movie. Then they just both kind of float there looking at the world, and somehow this is enough to convince Genesect that he doesn't need to destroy anymore. Huh? As Genesect is left awestruck, Mewtwo collapses, falling straight down to Earth, leading him to launch after Mewtwo, but apparently he doesn't have the strength alone to carry 269 pounds. Why is it 69 pounds? That's so specific. The gang realize this, so they get to work to stop them from falling to their deaths, which is kind of funny, as not even 20 minutes ago they were shown flying around the city at Mach 7 speed. I don't even know how they can even be remotely threatened by fall damage when all they do is levitate. But ignore that, the Genesect, along with Ash's Charizard and Iris's Dragonite, fly up to help. However, they can't even do anything, so Ash thinks of the water bucket strat with the other Pokemon as they all come together to make a giant bubble to save them. Don't even go the route of realism. This is Pokemon, and sometimes we just need to accept that. This climax, I feel, was pretty mediocre at best. Like, you really expect me to believe that a Genesect and Mewtwo could fall to their deaths? And also the fact showing Genesect the world from outer space is all it took for him to suddenly be at peace with everyone? And now Mewtwo and Shining Genesect are best friends? Like, I don't know about you, but this didn't make any sense logically. Whatever. Everyone's cool now. Ash figured out where the Genesect could live because those flowers Sigmasect really liked are naturally grown in this random place in Unova. So they visit there, and the last few shots is the Genesect creating their giant nest, and everyone lives happily ever after. Now back to the original question. Does this movie deserve to be the lowest rated, most hated Pokemon movie? I'm gonna say no. I thought it wasn't good, but I still watched it. The writing wasn't great, but neither is most of the other Pokemon movies. I do feel like the writers did just find any way to make up some sort of conflict. Like, why is it only the shiny Genesect that doesn't give a butt about any other person or Pokemon but itself? Why was Mewtwo given Mega Evolution only to use it for dramatic effect and not actually how it's supposed to be used? Why did the majority of the movie take place in the same area? Why was Ash the only human character doing anything in the movie? And why was it Genesect getting sent to space the thing that cured his anger? I think the worst out of them all is not having any important human characters other than Ash doing anything. It was literally Ash, Sigmasect, the Leader One, and Mewtwo. That was the whole cast. Everyone else just stood there, besides for that blonde dude, but even he basically did everything off screen. And I know I keep calling him that Genesect, Sigmasect, but he was beta for most of the movie. And while I think the majority of the problems stem from the lack of good characters or any at all, this Genesect's plot, along with the Leader One, felt very lackluster. Like, at least give us some more context clues as to how these guys were raised in the labs instead of showing only a brief clip of stereotypical mad scientists evilly laughing at their new creation only to be blasted on sight for no reason. But that's about it for the bad. The good parts were actually what kept me watching the movie, such as Mewtwo. Seeing a new Mewtwo was pretty interesting. Again, the Mega Evolution was pointless, yet we had some cool scenes with her. Secondly, the animations are super clean and cool. The motion, the city landscape, the environment is awesome, and that's kind of it for the stuff I liked. Maybe this is a controversial take, but yeah, I don't think this movie is the worst Pokemon movie. Yes, it has its flaws. It was pretty fun to watch. Very rarely do we see a good story in Pokemon movies anyway, so at least the visuals made up for the bad story structure. Do I think it deserves to be hated? Maybe. I understand why people might consider it the weakest of the films. For me though, I didn't fall asleep while watching. There were a few dull parts when the wild Pokemon and the Genesect were battling, but I wasn't angry on any of the decisions that were made. I just kinda laughed when Genesect got sent to space and realized, oh wait, Earth is actually pretty chill. I don't think this is the worst Pokemon movie. I haven't watched all the movies, so maybe out of all of them it could be, yet even with the major flaws this movie has, I still have a hard time believing it's the worst. Because I mean, come on, have you heard the soundtrack in these movies? They automatically ascend the whole experience. And if you're into Pokemon soundtracks as much as I am, I actually ranked all of Ash's intro theme songs from worst to best. If you're interested in that, go ahead and click on the screen, and I'll see you guys over there. Bye bye!